Hello, everyone, and welcome to RevMD Sex Bites podcast with me, your host, Dr. Deborah Durst. We love peptides, and we love better sex, and today we're going to talk about both, so stay tuned. So today I have a host with me. Well, really, she's a co-host. She's my right-hand woman. And so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Faride Golombieski. I'm a nurse practitioner at Revitalize MD. And today we are talking about sex and orgasms and all the good things, right?
All the
Especially
good things.
PT-141.
That's right. So we're going to talk about PT-141. If you have not heard of it, Bremelanotide. It's a little hard to pronounce every once in a while. So we always kind of stick with PT-141. That's easier. Plus, we like those fancy letter and number names, right?
Or, as our patients say, the one that helps with orgasms, that orgasm peptide.
I need that orgasm peptide. Yeah. They're very specific. You can tell they remembered all their acronyms with numbers and letters, right? So Bremelanotide is PT-141. So again, that was an active ingredient that was found in Melanotan. Melanotan II, is specifically the one that we're using, but Melanotan, if you've seen our other YouTube video and podcast about it, is really the Barbie peptide. It does increase your melanin in the skin, so you get tanning, may decrease your appetite, and then there was that increased sex drive component to it.
And that's where they came up with PT-141 because they found out through the Melanotan peptide that we can focus on certain receptors in the brain and increase sexual desire. Mm-hmm. So that is where that has come from.
That was the active ingredient that made that happen. So just a quick background, and we won't get into too much science, but melanocyte stimulating hormone, or MSH, those are two different, ones are actually more than two, but alpha or beta. And then those work on melanocortin receptors, and that could be MC1 receptor, MC2, 3, 4 different ones. And so Melanotan II was a non-specific binder to all those receptors. So you get increased sex drive, decreased appetite, increased tan. But then if you take one that just more specifically binds to one of those receptors, and PT-141 is the ingredient in Melanotan II that actually bound to 1 and 4, 4 being the one that really does more of the sexual function and the enhanced sexual function, but you might get some pigment increase with it, but just not nearly as much with Melanotan II. So
exactly. So two different things. If we're looking for that tan, you go to the Melanotan. If we're looking to improve orgasm strength and trying to increase that sexual desire, we go to PT-141, knowing you may get a little bit of benefit there and that color change as well. You may get a little bit of a tan, but that's not the focus of this peptide.
No. And so what we're going to talk about is better orgasms. What I say is everyone is going to love PT-141. It's just when are they going to love it is the issue.
That's it. So timing is big with this peptide. So for some, so let's talk about how the forms it comes, right? So typically we're prescribing an injectable. We can prescribe it as a nasal spray. There may be some oral options as well, but typically what we're doing is a subcutaneous injection, so into fat tissue, or as a nasal spray. Mm-hmm. So you're going to inject an hour prior to sexual activity. Starts to sound a little familiar, right? There's some pills out there that you do about the same, but with that, it may be effective within 30 minutes, or it could be effective within a couple hours. We just don't know. Mm-hmm. So timing is huge, and it's a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning for our patients to see, okay, well, how much do I need, and how quickly or how long in advance do I need to take this thing?
Correct. So there's, it could be 30 minutes, like Faride said, or it could be 5 or 6 hours. So again, you'll know soon enough, and that timing is specific for you. And so then you'll know when to take it. There's been reports of even longer than that, or even lasting longer than that. But again, usually somewhere between 30 and 6 hours is a good time frame to at least find your sweet spot.
So with PT-141, like I said, it's an injectable, and we're working on receptors in the brain, essentially the central nervous system, to work on increasing sexual desire. So the pills that we take, the PD-5 inhibitors,
little blue pills.
the Viagra, the Cialis, those are working on blood flow for men and women. That's increasing blood flow. So it works a little bit differently, because I've had patients ask, well, what's the difference? So it's a different mechanism of action of how it's working.
The PD-5 inhibitors, Cialis, Viagra, the generics of those, the compounded versions of those, the combination, which we've talked about before, which we love, and have a local option for that, which is wonderful. Then those basically are working on blood flow. This is central nervous system. So it's receptors in the brain, which again is why injectables works well. You know, it's going to get into the bloodstream and be effective, or nasal spray is going to cross the blood-brain barrier better. Where if you're taken orally or a troche, something along those lines, again, the stomach may deactivate that and never gets into the central nervous system. So this is a neurologic pathway, a different pathway. Actually has been known to give men confidence back when they have erectile changes or are erectile dysfunction, unable to get erections the way they want to. It gives them confidence back because they can actually get an provoked erection, so it gives them that confidence that they're going to get erections again, because they're, functioning along the lines of a youngster all over again, right?
There you go. So it helps increase that sexual desire. It also can help with those spontaneous erections. It can help improve orgasm strength. So that's big. We hear that a lot in our office is, how do I improve my orgasm strength? Or, hey, they're not like they used to be, or I'm working really hard for them. I have to stay super focused, things like that. So PT-141 is one of those little tricks in our bag we can pop out.
And it really does increase your orgasmic experience. Again, it's when is that going to happen? So not only is there that timing issue, there's a nausea issue. So it can cause nausea. That is, more dose dependent and first dose too. So the higher in dose you're going, or your first dose, and especially if you start at a higher first dose, you're going to have that nausea effect potentially. So sometimes we'll do Zofran. Sometimes there's vitamin B6 in a product that helps with nausea. But again, you're going to acclimate to that effect, but it's not something you want to try on like a honeymoon for the first time.
Right.
Because there's a potential that may not go well for you. And again, we want this peptide. We want you to love this peptide the way that we love this peptide. And that means that you need to find that sweet dose without nausea that works for you.
Yep. And you might have a little bit of flushing. That's normal. Nothing like Viagra, or Cialis. You'll say, oh, I have this crazy flushing, or I have these headaches. And you can have a little bit of that, but not to the same extent. And we want you guys to be aware of these potential side effects so that they're not caught off guard by them. They're not super common, but they can happen. But they definitely do help increase that orgasmic experience.
Yes. And so if it is a hypoactive desire disorder in men or women. So basically low libido, and again, low libido is probably more a function or more an issue for women than for men. Usually it's more erectile changes for men. So erectile dysfunction. So then it is drive. And even when we're doing hormone optimization, again, a man can have very low testosterone and still has sex drive, where it's the first thing to go with women and the last thing to come back frequently. And there's exceptions to both of those, but so with this helps. And actually there's now an FDA approved formulation for it. The issue is that you get a vial that should last you a longer period of time when it is compounded for use specifically. And potentially we could put something that helps nausea in there too. And then in the other form is just 4 doses. And again, if you're playing with those doses a little bit, I wouldn't expect that one prescription would take you very far with that, because it's some timing issues for both the nausea and acclimation of that. And then for when you're going to get, that erection that works for you, how far out
that
is
increased drive or want.
Yes. And then again, the orgasmic strength. We have couples that use this just because they love it, and both of them have better orgasms. And again, who doesn't want better orgasms, right? Stronger orgasms. And if this
more frequent orgasms,
and again, there's that better erection. We use it very often comprehensively with our patients when we're doing sexual wellness treatment plans, because again, if early on we're doing GainsWave and we're going to add P shots in, and we're getting that regeneration and blood flow, and it's taking a little time, we want them to get erections in the meantime to get healthier blood flow in and better and stronger erections. And so we'll use PT-141 along with them. And so education is part of our journey.
Absolutely.
And so that they can learn about these, special, very unique ways of increasing, both erections and orgasmic strength. And so it is a fun one to play with for sure. And couples love it, and they can work together, on dosing for both of them. And so that is definitely an option. The only other thing that I would think that maybe we haven't covered is, another side effect potentially with this one is it could increase your blood pressure. Not very likely. And again, we'll monitor blood pressures on all of our patients, and it's only really an uncontrolled blood pressure. And so that means, somebody more relatively on the sick side that has blood pressure that they're on,
they're more likely to experience
3 or 4 different medicines, and you can't control that. And so really it's something we frequently use. We love it. So again, we love PT-141. We love that people can have better sex and better orgasms and better erections. And again,
we want you to have all the sex.
Yeah, exactly. We want you to have all the things when you're having it. Yes. So if you have any questions, I think we covered everything, right?
I think so. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments. We love having your questions. We love getting your feedback. So if you've used PT-141, let us know your experience with it, if you love it too.
And the only other thing I guess we haven't really is dosing. And again, and I've talked about this in other videos, with peptides, I never recommend online purchasing. These need to be prescribed by providers, and you need to be medically monitored on them. And so it really depends on the dose, the milligram dose in a vial, how you're reconstituting it. And what reconstitution means is we're taking a fluid or liquid or sterile water, and we're now making that powder in the vial in a milligram concentration or a milligram powder into a solution that has a milligram per ml solution, and that's a concentration. And then based on that, that's dosing. So again, I'm telling you that just between a couple different pharmacies we use, there's a 10-time dosing difference depending on the volume recommended for reconstitution. So us giving dosing on a video is, again, could potentially lead you to dose it the wrong way and have some pretty bad effects. So it depends on your provider. It depends on the milligram in the vial. It depends on what volume you're reconstituting it. And then the dose. And again, it's a matter of, maybe once every 72 hours, you're kind of playing with that dose. Maybe a week out of the month, you're actually using the medicine at the right dosing. And if you have side effects like pigment, just decreasing the frequency or the dose of it. And so, monitoring is the biggest thing.
Monitoring and not buying some bunk stuff online, guys and girls. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those sites actually say not even for animal use.
Not for human use.
Not for human use. And so again, I wouldn't inject. You need to know what you're injecting in your body. And so definitely educate yourself. And I knew that some questions will be specifically on dosing, and that's difficult if we don't know what's in the vial. And we have, reconstitution videos, though, that will at least show you, how to draw up your sterile water to reconstitute a peptide, just so you have some procedural, like a technique that you can do and rely on. But it depends on what you're prescribed and what the vial says and how much your provider wants you to put as a sterile water into the vial. So I knew I would just kind of address those questions before they come through, because it's hard to do that if we're not your prescribing office. So anyhow, but let us know your experience with PT-141. All of it. Don't hold back. Give us all the experiences.
The good and the bad.
The good, the bad, the fun. We want to hear it all.
We want it all.
So definitely let us know if there's anything else you want to hear about more specifically. And subscribe, share this one with friends. Share it with your partner or partners, whatever that is. So, and again, we're here to revitalize your look, your health, and your sex life. Thank you. And thank you for your day.
Thank you.